Peace. Welcome to the Parry in our series, Legendary Profiles from the Parry. This series is meant to profile some legendary and unheralded fighters. Today we will be highlighting Juan Manuel Marquez. First, let me remind you to jab that like button, uppercut that subscribe button, lead hook that share button, and drop the comment in the comment section. Juan Manuel Marquez was born August 23, 1973 in Mexico City. Marquez is a 9-time world champion, capturing titles in 4 weight classes. He's been a champion at featherweight, super featherweight, lightweight, and junior welterweight divisions. He became the 3rd Mexican fighter to capture titles in 4 weight classes, sharing that honor with Erik Morales and Jorge Arce. Manuel Marquez, over his 21-year career in boxing, he's become an all-time great and considered a legend in his homeland of Mexico. In comparison to some other quote-unquote Mexican-style fighters, Marquez was a skilled technical boxer who was also highly effective at counterpunching and threw furious combinations. But he was tough and also willing to slug it out if he had to do so to get the win. Marquez has 64 total fights, 56 wins, 40 being by knockout. Marquez has 7 defeats, but has never been stopped or knocked out. Juan Manuel Marquez made his professional debut at the age of 19 as a super bantamweight on May 29, 1993 in Mexico City against Javier Duran, where he lost by disqualification. After that disqualification loss, he would go on to win 29 straight fights in 6 years. On his way to a 29-1 record, he defeated some world champions like the former WBA super bantamweight champ Julio Gervasio by knockout, former WBO bantamweight champs Agapito Sanchez and Alfred Cote, defeated them both by unanimous decision. Marquez won an NABO featherweight title in 1997 and was considered the best fighter without a major world title. Marquez was the mandatory challenger for WBO champion Naseem Hamed for almost 2 years. Not being able to land the fight with Hamed, he chose to fight Freddie Norwood for the WBO featherweight strap instead. Freddie Norwood, who was 35-0, won the vacant WBA world featherweight title in September of 1998 and was making his second title defense against the 29-1 Juan Manuel Marquez a year later. On September 11, 1999 at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Norwood was a tricky southpaw who called himself Little Haggler, gave Marquez some problems with his awkward style and movement. Early in the second round, Little Haggler Norwood dropped Marquez with a counter left hand as Marquez darted in to land a shot. In the 8th round, Norwood continued to use his slick upper body movement to counter Marquez with hard left hands when suddenly Marquez lands a snapping left hook, which appeared to have dropped Norwood, but the veteran referee, Joe Cortez, wrongly ruled it a slip. Norwood's left hand and knee clearly hit the canvas as a result of a punch. However, at the end of round 9, Marquez would drop Norwood with a counter left hand that secured the round and, to most observers, put him up in the fight. Marquez would lose a controversial decision unanimously. The legendary Harold Letterman had Marquez winning on his unofficial scorecard 115-111. But the official judges saw it differently, one judge scoring it 117-112. Marquez would lose his first shot at the world title, in which he was favored to win. After losing to Norwood, Marquez would go on another impressive win streak that started November of 1999 to May of 2004. In the midst of his win streak, he defeated fighters such as the Argentinian Remigio Daniel Molina and former WBO bantamweight champion Daniel Jimenez. But before he could get another shot at the title, he would have to face Aussie Robbie Peden in an IBF featherweight title eliminator on March 9, 2002. From the opening bell, Marquez stayed on his toes and worked behind the jab, setting up hard right hands at will. The Mexican found a home for that straight right hand all night, which led to Marquez stacking up rounds and leading on the scorecards. Eventually, the ref would stop the fight at the end of the 10th round. Marquez would now be in line for his next opportunity at the featherweight title against Manuel Medina for the IBF strap. That fight would take place on February 1st, 2003 at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Medina was a veteran fighter with 60 wins on his record to only 12 defeats. He will be up against a determined Marquez who wanted to become world champion. From round 1, Marquez was on his toes and investing left hooks and stab jabs to the body. He moved and countered Medina and hit him with a three-piece and a tortilla to drop him in the second round. After the knockdown, Medina pressed the action only to continue to be countered. Marquez's clean punching started swelling Medina's right eye, causing blood to flow from his nose. And in round 7, Marquez delivered a hard left hook to Medina's badly swollen eye and dropped him. Referee Robert Burge stopped the fight to spare Medina from any more damage to that right eye. Juan Manuel Marquez was now the IBF featherweight champion of the world. Later that year, he would fight Derek Smoke Gainer, the WBA Super World Featherweight Champion in a unification bout. From the opening bell, Gainer proved to be very slippery and elusive, playing a cat-and-mouse game with Marquez, using the swift jab and footwork trying to stay away from Marquez's power and not looking to engage the IBF champion. Marquez throughout the fight used feints and an educated jab to get close to the southpaw Gainer, where he would land some effective body shots, and the occasional overhand right. Gainer, not looking to open himself up to Marquez's power shots, was clearly losing rounds. Midway through the fight, Marquez started to get closer to Gainer and landed harder, cleaner shots while Gainer continued to play the role of matador against the Mexican bull. Then in the 7th round, after a clash of heads and a clean overhand right, Marquez opened a gash over Gainer's left eye, causing the fight to be halted, and the officials went to the scorecards. Marquez would win the bout by technical decision, winning on all the judges' scorecards and becoming the unified IBF and WBA Super World Featherweight Champion. After unifying the IBF and WBA straps, Marquez would go on to fight the lineal and Ring Magazine Featherweight Champion, and soon to be arch nemesis, the future Hall of Famer, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. Pacquiao was fresh off a TKO victory over the legendary Mexican featherweight champion, Marco Antonio Barrera. The best two featherweights in the world would clash on May 8th, 2004 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and what would be the first of 4 wars between the two pugilists. There was non-stop action from round 1. Pac-Man came out throwing blazing combinations at Marquez, dropping Marquez a total of 3 times in the first round. Marquez would finish the round with a bloody nose, but still on his feet and determined to get back into the fight. In round 2, Pacquiao's upper body movement and hand speed would continue to give Marquez problems. Manny threw nothing but jabs and straight lefts with bad intentions. The first 2 rounds would clearly be scored for Pacquiao. Round 3, Marquez would begin to get his timing and start to find a home for a straight right hand against the southpaw Pacquiao, also landing solid body shots that seemed to hurt the lineal and Ring Magazine champion. In round 4, Marquez continued to time Pac-Man and get the better of the exchanges. Due to Marquez's sharp counterpunching and combinations, Manny's attack began to slow up. In round 5, Marquez continued to counter Pacquiao when he landed a hard right hand that almost pushed his wig back to Manila. Marquez in round 6 stunned Pacquiao again with the hard right hand, sending him bouncing off the ropes. Manny returned fire. At the halfway mark, both fighters seemed to have declared war, refusing to accept defeat and wanted to go out on their shields if need be. After round 6, Harold Letterman had scored 4 rounds for Marquez with only 2 rounds for Pacquiao. But because of the 3 knockdowns in the first round, Manny was still up by 1 point on the unofficial scorecard. Manny Pacquiao seemed to catch his second win in the second half of the fight. Rounds 7 and 8, he once again began to land hard straight lefts to the face of Marquez. However, Marquez had an answer for everything Manny would throw. Rounds 7, 8, 9, and 10 would go to Pac-Man on the Letterman card, but the rounds were close and full of back and forth action. But Manny had seemed to regain his hand speed that was winning him the early rounds. Going into the championship rounds, this fight was up for grabs. To many observers, Marquez won the championship rounds, but because of the 3 early knockdowns, many believe Manny was up on the cards. The final scorecards read 115-110 Marquez, 115-110 Pacquiao, and 113-113 declaring this fight a draw. Both fighters would keep their respective titles. Marquez and Manny would go on to fight 3 more times in their careers, but the rematch of the first fight wouldn't happen until 4 years later. After the draw against Pacquiao, Marquez went on to defeat the tough Mexican Orlando Salido and the Colombian Victor Polo by unanimous decision. Marquez was stripped of his WBA and IBF titles, failing to defend his titles against the mandatories. In 2006, he would face undefeated Indonesian fighter Chris John, who was now the WBA featherweight champion. John was 36-0 with 1 draw. Marquez and John shared a common opponent in Derek Smoke Gaynor, who they both defeated by decision. The fight against John was full of back and forth action, with John often getting the better of the exchanges between him and Marquez. Nonetheless, each round was close, but in rounds 10 and 11, Marquez was deducted points for low blows, which might have cost him the fight. Marquez would lose to John by unanimous decision. After the loss, Marquez was removed from the Rings magazine's pound-for-pound list. In 2006, Marquez would win the interim WBO featherweight title by TKO victory against Turdzak Jandang in the 7th round. He would defend that title and win by 9th round knockout against Jim Rex Jaka. Marquez would vacate the WBO title in 2007 to move up a division to super featherweight to challenge the fellow Mexican legend Marco Antonio Barrera for his WBC featherweight strap on March 17, 2007 at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. In round 1, both fighters came out throwing leather. Barrera, however, was using his jab effectively, beating Marquez to the punch, won the first round on the unofficial scorecard. Round 2 was much like the first, with Barrera seemingly outscoring Marquez. Both fighters being highly technical boxers, with Barrera using good upper body movement and rolling away from a lot of Marquez's power shots, and Marquez, effectively using his lead hook to connect to the body and head of Barrera, put on a skillful exhibition not normally seen amongst 2 Mexican warriors. Both were putting each other's ring IQ to the test in this fight. In round 5, Marquez began to be more effective throwing his 1-2 and landing his power shots more frequently against the super featherweight champion Barrera. But the baby-faced assassin was edging Marquez in most of the rounds, according to most observers and Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard. Letterman had Barrera up 4 rounds to 2 going into the 7th round. Halfway through the 7th round, Marquez stunned the champion with a hard right hand and proceeded to throw and land some vicious combinations. And towards the end of the round, Barrera clipped Marquez with a short right hand that dropped him. But Barrera followed up with an illegal punch to Marquez's head while he was down and was deducted a point and wasn't awarded the knockdown. In rounds 8 and 9, Marquez started landing some effective combinations, bringing the fight to the champion. The punch stats through round 9 was almost dead even, with the same amount of punches thrown, with Barrera landing 1 more punch than Marquez. This fight was super close, and Barrera not being awarded the knockdown, plus the point deduction for the illegal blow, might have cost him the fight. In the championship rounds, Marquez had the babyface assassin fighting off the back foot and walking to the champion, throwing and landing combinations. To start the 12th round, Marquez landed a quick combination, letting his opponent and the judges know he intends to win this last round and the fight. The 12th round ended how the first round ended, with both fighters throwing leather and fighting all the way to the final bell. The scorecards read 116, 111, 118, 109, and 116, 111, all for the new WBC super featherweight champion and now 2-division world champion, Juan Manuel Marquez. Marquez was scheduled to make his first super featherweight title defense against Jorge Rodrigo Barrios, but ended up fighting Rocky Juarez due to Barrios getting injured. Marquez would successfully defend his WBC strap by winning by unanimous decision against Juarez, setting up his highly anticipated rematch against Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. The rematch would take place on March 15, 2008 at the Mandalay Bay in Vegas, with Marquez's WBC super featherweight strap on the line. Marquez came out in round 1 looking to counter, landed clean power shots against Manny, getting the best of him in early exchanges, but Manny was more than willing to exchange power shots with the champion, and the rematch seemingly picked up where the first fight ended, with both fighters going back and forth with vicious combos. And towards the end of round 2, the champion Marquez landed a flurry of punches that buckled Manny's knee like a child in a car seat. Manny would survive the round and come out looking for revenge and some get back at the beginning of round 3. In the final seconds of round 3, Pac-Man landed a vicious left hand to the jaw of the champion, dropping him for the first time in this fight and the 4th time in 2 fights, and almost dropped him again before the bell. Marquez, clearly buzzed, almost walked into the wrong corner after the end of the round. Rounds 4 and 5 was more of the same back and forth action, with both fighters landing hard power shots and neither fighter relenting or backing down. Round 7, after a clash of heads, a nasty cut opened up over the champion's right eye. It was ruled an accidental headbutt, and the war continued. In round 8, Marquez opened up a cut over Manny's right eye from a punch. Now both fighters are shedding blood and showing tremendous heart. In round 9, Marquez gets a second cut on his right eye, but continues to fight on. Going into round 10, this fight was close. Harold Letterman had Manny up 5 rounds to 4 on the unofficial scorecard. In round 10, Manny landed a crushing overhand left that almost dropped the champion again. In round 11, Marquez would again begin to counter Pacquiao with hard right hands, looking to win the championship rounds and get the victory. Round 12 was a war. Both fighters fighting hard, trying to get the round and win the fight. It was all blood and guts, and a fight that seemed just as close as the first fight. Some thought it could have been another draw. The final scorecards read 115-112 Marquez, 115-112 Pacquiao, and 114-113, giving Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao the split decision victory and making him the new WBC super featherweight champion. Manny Pacquiao turned down a $6 million guarantee to fight Marquez again, saying this business is over, as he had plans to move up to the lightweight division. Marquez will follow Pac-Man to the lightweight division to fight the ring champion, Cuban Joel Kasam. Kasam held victories over Lamont Peterson, Nate Campbell, and 2 victories over the legendary Diego Corrales. Marquez will face Kasam on September 13, 2008 at the MGM Grand. The first 4 rounds proved difficult for Marquez to find his range, walking into counter shots from the Cuban, seemingly being down 4 rounds to none. In round 5, the Mexican began to find a home for that straight right hand and started winning some rounds against the bigger, stronger Kasam. Even though Marquez started to be effective landing his straight right hand and countering, he was still getting caught lunging in and eating some clean shots by the ring champion. Then, in the 11th round, with about 30 seconds left to go, Marquez lands a swift combo and drops Kasam with a short right hand for the first knockdown of the fight. The Cuban obviously badly hurt attempts to clinch as the fight resumes, but is put down with another short right hand by Marquez, and Tony Weeks stopped the fight with less than 10 seconds left in the 11th round, giving Juan Manuel Marquez a TKO victory over Kasam and his first win at the 135-pound division. After the TKO win over Kasam, Marquez will be ranked as the #1 lightweight in the world and will be ranked 2nd on the Ring Magazine's pound-for-pound list. His second fight in the lightweight division will be against former unified lightweight champion Juan Baby Bull Diaz for the vacant WBA and WBO straps, along with Marquez's newly captured lightweight ring championship title. Marquez vs. Diaz will take place on February 28, 2009 at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Diaz came out in round 1 applying pressure and walked into Marquez looking to fight in a phone booth, landing some hard shots and appearing to win the first round. In round 2, with the minute and a half left in the round, the Baby Bull landed a hard left hook that shook up Marquez and wobbled him. Rather than clinch, Marquez, being the warrior he is, decided to fight his way out, returning fire back at Diaz. Diaz was changing levels, going to the body and to the head of Marquez, and keeping Marquez on the back foot. Round after round, Diaz seemed to just walk through the power shots of Marquez, looking to stay in his chest and make it a dogfight. Around the 5th round, Marquez started to become more effective with his counter shots. Diaz was walking into a lot of uppercuts and right hands, but so far has been unfazed by Marquez's power. But nonetheless, the young baby bull was locking horns with another bull, one who was battle-tested and up for the challenge. Going into the 7th round, Harold Letterman had Diaz up 4 rounds to 2 on the unofficial scorecard. In round 8, with both fighters bleeding, Marquez landed a clean left hook that shook up Diaz, but the war continued. Then in round 9, the crafty veteran landed a hard right hand to the side of Diaz's head, followed by a left uppercut that sent the baby bull to the canvas. Diaz rises from the canvas, and rather than clinch, he gets put out by a sharp uppercut from Marquez that lays the bull out for good. The ref stops the fight in the 9th round, giving Marquez a TKO victory. Marquez becomes the WBA, WBO, IBO, and Ring Magazine lightweight champion. Marquez vs. Diaz was named the Fight of the Year by Ring Magazine and ESPN for 2009 and was an instant classic for fight fans. After the fight, Marquez expressed he would like to fight the pound-for-pound king, Floyd Money Mayweather. Marquez will move up to the welterweight division to fight self-proclaimed TBE Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. on September 19, 2009 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Mayweather, coming off a brief retirement from the sport, agreed to fight Marquez at a catchweight of 144, but Mayweather weighed in at 146 and had to pay Marquez an additional $600,000. From round 1, Floyd made it evident that he was just levels above Marquez. Floyd countered Marquez with check hooks and pulled counters all night. Floyd hit Marquez with a check hook and dropped him in round 2. And being a defensive savant that he is, Mayweather held Marquez to a 19% connect rate according to CompuBox. Marquez lost by unanimous decision in a completely one-sided fight. Marquez, being an all-time great in his own right, just wasn't on the level of the greatest fighter of his era. But you must respect him for wanting to challenge to fight the best. After his fight with Mayweather, Marquez will move back down to lightweight to rematch Juan Diaz and defend his WBA and WBO titles. The rematch would take place July 31st at the Mandalay Bay. In comparison to the first fight, Marquez dominated Baby Bull and won by unanimous decision. The WBO ordered that the winner must face mandatory challenger Michael Katsidis. Marquez will face Katsidis on November 27, 2010 at the MGM Grand. Marquez would be knocked down in the 3rd round but would come back and stop Katsidis in round 9 and win by TKO. Marquez will begin to eye a rematch against his arch rival Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao and fight him for a 3rd time. Marquez would have one fight at 140 against Licor Ramos and win by 1st round TKO before facing Manny Pacquiao for a 3rd time, this time at a catchweight of 144 pounds. Marquez vs. Pacquiao 3 would take place on November 12, 2011 at the MGM Grand, with Manny's WBO welterweight title on the line. Round 1 began with both fighters being more tactical and circling each other to gauge their distance and waiting for opportunities to counter. Manny began to use his jab and feinting as not to get countered by Marquez's power shots. Marquez landed a few body shots, but Pacquiao won the 1st round according to Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard. In round 2, Marquez started investing in some solid body shots on the champion, and by most observers won round 2, and the action was starting to heat up, reminiscent of the past 2 fights. Round 3 was almost dead even. In round 4, Marquez found his timing and began to counter Manny and land some more body shots that seemed to affect Pacquiao throughout the fight. In round 5, Marquez started landing the hard right hand more frequently, shooting the lead uppercut up the middle and finishing with the right hand to Manny's face. Round 6 turned into a brawl like their past fights and began to look less technical, both fighters looking to land hard shots and fighting with a sense of urgency. Round 7, Marquez's punch selection was excellent, landing some clean rights and counter uppercuts, but Manny still was pressing the action and using his hand speed and footwork to land some good shots of his own. In round 9, Manny threw punches and bunches, keeping Marquez on his heels. Marquez, while trying to avoid the combination punching of Pacquiao, was only throwing 1 or 2 shots at a time and might have cost him the round. Going into the final round, Harold Letterman had Pacquiao up on the scorecards 106 to 103. However, to most observers, the fight was a lot closer, with a lot of people believing Marquez should be up in the fight. But in the 12th, Marquez wasn't as aggressive as he probably should have been. Perhaps he believed he won enough rounds to win the fight. The judges scored the fight 114, 114, dead even. 115, 113, and 116, 112, giving a majority decision victory to Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao once again, who retained his WBO strap. However, after the fight, Marquez vs. Pacquiao 3 was voted Robbery of the Year by the readers of Ring Magazine in 2011. After coming up short against Manny Pacquiao, Marquez moved back down to lightweight to fight Serhiy Fedchenko for the interim WBO lightweight title. Marquez beat Fedchenko by unanimous decision. After capturing another lightweight title, Marquez went back up to welterweight to challenge Manny Pacquiao for a 4th time. Marquez-Pacquiao 4 would take place on December 8, 2012 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. After being on the wrong side of 3 controversial decisions, Marquez would be looking to finally get a victory over the Filipino legend. Rounds 1 and 2 started similar to the first of the 3 fights, with Manny being the aggressor with Marquez looking to counterpunch with power shot. But like the first 2 fights, Manny might have slightly edged to win the rounds. With just over a minute left in round 3, Marquez landed a crushing overhand right that dropped Pacquiao for the first time in 4 fights. A punch he set up throwing body shots earlier in the round. In round 5, Manny was throwing a snapping jab and feinting when he finally dropped Marquez with a sharp straight left hand. Later in the round, Manny lands another power shot that appeared to hurt Marquez, but Marquez fought his way out of danger once again. Round 6 was another back and forth round with 3 seconds left in the round. Manny darts in for a shot and Marquez countered him with a devastating right hand that shuts Manny's power off for good. Manny became a literal meme after being put to sleep by Marquez. This time it was no judges, no controversial decisions. Marquez wins for the first time in 4 fights, but he's the only one to win by knockout. Marquez vs. Pacquiao 4 won Ring Magazine's Fight of the Year and Knockout of the Year of 2012. After knocking out his rival Manny Pacquiao, the 40-year-old Marquez would stay at welterweight to fight the 30-year-old WBO champion, Timothy Desert Storm Bradley. Bradley was 30-0 and had a TKO victory over Joel Casamayor, a split decision victory over Manny Pacquiao, and a unanimous decision victory over Ruslan Provodnikov. Bradley was younger, quicker, stronger, and was putting together an impressive resume for himself. This fight would take place on October 12, 2013 at the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas. Bradley from the opening bell pretty much controlled the fight with his jab, movement, and counterpunching. Marquez, with his best years behind him, seemed to be a step slower at 40 and didn't have enough to beat the young champion Bradley, and pretty much lost every round. Marquez had some good moments in the fight but was dominated by Bradley the whole fight. Even though one judge scored the fight 115-112 for Marquez, Marquez would lose by split decision. The loss to Bradley, Marquez would fight Mike Alvarado on May 17, 2014 at the Forum in Inglewood, California, on what would be the final fight of his career. He would defeat Alvarado by unanimous decision, a fight where he would drop Alvarado down in the 8th round and Marquez himself would be dropped in round 9. But in true Marquez fashion, he would get up off the canvas and get the victory. In 2016, there was talks about Marquez fighting legendary Puerto Rican fighter and 4-division champion Miguel Cotto, but negotiations fell off when neither side could agree on the catch weight for the fight. On August 4, 2017, the Mexican legend called it quits, officially retired from boxing. Marquez's career spanned 21 years, 56 wins, 7 losses, 1 draw, with 40 knockouts. Marquez stated it was a tough decision, but knew it was time to hang up the gloves for good. Marquez will go down in history as a warrior, a world-class fighter, and champion, and one of the greatest Mexican fighters to ever live. This has been Legendary Profiles from the Parry. Let me remind you to jab that like button, uppercut that subscribe button, lead hook that share button, and drop a comment in the comment section. And throw a combination at the notification bell so you can be updated when we drop new content. And remember, this is the Parry. We don't pull or duck no punches, and the parry is fundamental to boxing. This is Bomani UFG hitting y'all with another Legendary Profiles from the Parry, and we out. Peace.
Actually, now we're going to show you how to catch the jab. Actually, in boxing, it's called parrying.